Section 1983 and 1985 for conspiracy. You're dismissed.
I'm dismissed.
You're dismissed.
Without that badge and gun, we both know what would happen. And you're scared.
A law professor exposes the incompetence of the police in a stunning courtroom showdown.
It's a First Amendment protected activity.
The case is so explosive that it could shake the foundations of the justice system.
What you're saying is a waste of time. I can't even understand you. So just piss off and get lost.
You won't want to miss this. Number 6. A lady was filming on a public property when law enforcement was called in due to her actions. Officer Wees arrived on the scene.
What's the purpose of your recording?
For public use, for public publishment.
What are you recording specifically?
The FAA.
Unaware that he was about to deal with someone who had a solid understanding of the law, he expressed concern about potential security issues.
You know what kind of concern your behavior might elicit, okay?
I understand that's probably why
we need to make sure that you're not trying to record FAA patterns in terms of who's coming in or out of the facility and that kind of stuff. It's security issues, okay?
The woman countered by referencing a 2018 Department of Homeland Security memo that supposedly validates her right to film or photograph a federal facility from a public space.
May I ask you this? Are you aware of the 2010 or 2018 DHS memo that makes it perfectly legal for any photographer to video record or photograph a federal facility from a public spot?
No, can you show that to me?
She also brought up the 2018 DHS memo required police to approach her in a polite and respectful manner.
You can initiate a consensual conversation.
Which I did.
And I can walk away at any point.
Well, no, now you're being detained because I need to dispel my concern about what you're doing here.
Why am I being detained, sir?
Suspicious activity.
Photography cannot be used.
You and I are going to go around in a circle.
No,
okay?
sir. Please let me
Could
finish.
I have your ID?
I don't have an ID.
You don't have an ID?
No.
Okay.
Despite her arguments, the officer detained her due to his suspicion, prompting her to request a higher-ranking officer.
You are incorrect.
I'm not.
Yes, sir.
No. What am I incorrect about?
She contended that photography couldn't be considered as grounds for suspicion. After being unable to establish a solid cause for detainment, the arrival of the sergeant led to her release. He mentioned that they were adhering to their federal regulations, which they were trying to enforce in the situation. Number 5. In another compelling incident, a man is seen educating a group of Flagler 1983 County Sheriff's deputies about his rights when they tried to question him for filming in public.
What's your name and badge number?
Are you videotaping license plates?
I'm going to tell you right now, okay? If you come out here and you even tell me I can't record something from a public easement, I'm going to hold you liable under Chapter 21, Title 42, United States Code, Section 1983 and 1985 for conspiracy. You're dismissed.
I'm dismissed.
You're dismissed.
He explicitly told the officers he would not answer any questions without the presence of an attorney, and made it clear he would not provide any information or his ID.
In Florida, if there is no crime, then I do not have to identify myself. I have not committed a crime. You cannot articulate a crime. You just said it in front of 27 people that I didn't commit a crime. If I have not committed a crime, then I do not need to ID. Bye-bye.
And warned them about the potential violation of 1st and 14th Article 5 under the 14th Amendment Civil Rights. He threatened to take away their qualified immunity by legally representing himself. Regardless of their attempts to reason with him, the man stood his ground. He continued to challenge the officers, asserting his right to be there and film without needing to identify himself. He dismissed their remarks, stating that the words were unimportant to him. The man's fierce defense of his rights made it clear that he wouldn't back down.
What you're saying is a waste of time. I can't even understand you. So just piss off and get lost.
The encounter ended with the man refusing to give his ID even after the officers acknowledged he had not committed any crime. This case highlighted the importance of understanding one's rights when filming in public spaces. The man in this incident was clearly knowledgeable about his rights and was not afraid to assert them. He was able to successfully defend his right to film in public. even in the face of multiple officers who were trying to intimidate him. This is a reminder that it is important to know your rights and to be prepared to defend them. Number 4. In an interesting turn of events, 2 young women were peacefully protesting against a pigeon shooting club. The pigeon shooting club was located on a large piece of land that was partially public and partially private. This drew the attention of Sergeant Joseph Blakely and another officer.
So we would appreciate it if you would leave. You are on private property. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have the audio on those cameras?
Yes.
Okay, would you mind turning the audio off?
No, I don't need to.
Okay.
You know, do I have to repeat what I just said?
Well, I
to this
think
young
this is
lady?
public access here.
Well, you're on private property and you're past
Well, I think
that
it's
point.
public. Well, I think this is
I think
public
you're past-
access.
You understand you have every right to protest, but that you can't be on their property without their consent.
Okay.
You can be on public property, you can be on the roadway where it does not impede traffic, but they have the right to ask you to leave the property.
Okay. Well, there is public access along here, so it goes to, you know, a certain point. So I think we're within that point.
However, one of the women was a lawyer, well equipped to handle the legal challenges. When the officers requested identification, the lawyer resisted, questioning why her name was necessary for the report if she wasn't under suspicion of a crime.
We're here on a police call, we're having contact with you, and we're going to identify you and name you on our police report. That's what we do.
Okay. Well, I'd rather not give you my name
Okay. Why would that be?
because I don't think I'm doing anything illegal. I don't think I'm under suspicion of anything.
One officer pointed to the Pennsylvania wiretap law, since the women were filming their interaction, which could be perceived as a legal infraction. But the lawyer argued that unless they suspected her of breaking this law, she didn't see the need to provide her name. The lawyer asked for a higher-ranking officer, which the sergeant said wasn't possible at the time. He didn't directly threaten her with custody, but wanted her identification due to the potential wiretapping law violation. The lawyer asserted that she was knowledgeable about both federal and Pennsylvania state wiretapping laws, as she had prosecuted cases under them before. She stood her ground, pointing out that she knew her actions were legal.
What they're asking is you don't stand on this plowed driveway and you stand on the other side of these snowbanks.
The encounter concluded with the officers asking the women not to impede traffic and refrain from standing in the driveway. They promised to verify the exact property boundaries with the township.
Did you see that?
Number 3. This officer received an impromptu lesson on law and public rights from a passerby who insisted on educating him about the intricacies of the law.
Hey, sir, you can't be videoing here.
What's that?
You gotta have a permit to video here.
Permit? Is this open to the public? Right here?
On a government facility, you gotta have a permit to be filming out here.
What law is that? What law is it?
It's county law. You cannot film on government property. You gotta have a permit.
However, the man contested the officer's claim, asserting that while it might be their policy, it wasn't a law. He explained that he had the legal right to film in public spaces.
Well, I guess I'm going to challenge you on that because that may be your policy, it's not law. I have a legal right to film in public, and they want you to enforce the policy. And policy doesn't trump my right to film in public. I'm not going into the building. I'm out here in public. It's publicly accessible.
The man asserted that there was no law against his actions, and it was, in fact, a First Amendment protected activity. He clarified that his purpose was to educate the officer and others about the public's right to film.
It's a First Amendment protected activity, and that's why I'm out here. I'm out here to educate you and others that we have a right to film in public.
The officer was initially reluctant to back down, but he eventually agreed to let the man continue filming. Number 2. Civil rights attorney Emmanuel Olowile was going about his business, disposing of trash in a dumpster outside his office, when he was approached by 2 police officers. They appeared to racially profile him and tried to question him about his activities. Here's why.
Don't run my ID.
Don't run your ID?
I have no reason to. I'm not violating any law. So don't
No one said that you're violating any law.
No, don't run my ID. I'm a lawyer. I know my rights.
Okay.
I'm not violating any law. I'm on my property. There's no suspicion. No one called anybody. So don't run my ID. I only identify myself so that this won't escalate.
Emmanuel was the only person of color in the area at the time of the incident. The officers were white. The officers asked for his ID, expressing their concern about someone jumping and putting stuff in the dumpster. Emmanuel complied by showing them his business card, but he objected to them recording his information, asserting that he was on his property and wasn't violating any laws. Based on an initial concern about potential illegal dumping, they asked Emmanuel to prove that the dumpster belonged to him. He replied that the dumpster belonged to the property and was sharing among all the units, which should nullify their suspicion. When the police returned his ID, Emmanuel firmly warned them not to run his ID to look for any possible infractions in the future, asserting that it would be illegal.
So what? It belongs to everybody. We're paying for it. It doesn't really matter if it belongs to all the unit.
That's fine.
Just give me back my ID. Thank you. Yeah, I understand you came to check, but trying to run my ID to find anything, no, that's illegal.
The police disagreed, but they allowed Emmanuel to continue disposing of his trash. Number 1. In this fascinating encounter, community law professor Chile de Castro finds himself in a contentious exchange with 2 police officers after being pulled over while returning from his university.
I sure do.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you pulled me over?
Yes, there is. You ran a red light when you were at university and rule, and then you made an improper turn right here. When you cut the car off, that was the lane number L2.
Chile de Castro, an esteemed professor in the field of law, was no stranger to the intricacies of legal systems and the rights afforded to individuals. As he drove along the familiar route, little did he know that this particular journey would take an unexpected turn. The flashing lights of a police car filled the rearview mirror, signaling for Chile de Castro to pull over. Confusion washed over him as he contemplated the reason behind this abrupt interruption to his evening commute.
I did a U-turn where the road was closed. I just want you to notice that.
All right, could you give me your driver's license, please?
I can, but I got to reach in here and I don't want you to be scared.
Just give me your driver's license.
This is the Mullen Commission. I teach constitutional law.
Okay. Please give me your driver's license, your insurance, and your registration.
You don't have to be demanding. You can clearly see I'm pulling out my identification for you right here. There's no reason for you to be rude to me. Remember, 300,000 people follow me teaching constitutional law. So while you're armed and dangerous, I'm not.
With calm composure, Chile de Castro sought clarification from the officers, politely inquiring about the reason for his detainment. The officers wasted no time in informing him that he had allegedly run a red light near the university and made an improper turn, cutting off another vehicle in the process.
I mean, I can't believe you even pulled me over, to be honest. You could clearly see that road was closed. You didn't see the road was closed?
I saw, but I also saw that you were stopped at a red light, and you turned left at a red light, and then I also saw right here, you turned left from lane number L1 and straight into lane number 2 and cut off the other vehicle that was in the
I didn't cut off any vehicles, officer. Don't make things up.
Right,
I got a camera in here.
He expressed his discomfort at the officers' behavior, especially the display of their firearms. He critiqued their methods and told them their approach contributes to public distrust in law enforcement. Things intensified when De Castro stepped out of the car to fetch his registration, and the other officer tried to engage him.
I'm gonna grab my registration like you asked me to do.
Sir, I'm gonna have you wait in your car.
You're not giving me a lawful order. I teach constitutional law. Be very careful what you do.
Okay, this is.
Be very careful. I'm going. You're not
for
officer safety.
This is
under
for
Terry
my
versus
safety.
Ohio. I'm Pennsylvania versus Mims right now. I'm outside of my car. The 1978 holding. Are you sure?
De Castro warned about the implications of misuse of power. The conversation between Chile de Castro and the officers began to evolve into a discussion of legal principles and constitutional rights. He referenced well-known legal cases such as Terry versus Ohio and Pennsylvania versus Mims, emphasizing the importance of officers' adherence to specific protocols.
I'm not moving at all, sir.
I have 300,000 followers, brother. They're gonna love this. I'm trying to get my registration as he asked me to do. I'm not a danger to anybody. I've already showed him the inside of my car.
Nobody has asked you to exit the vehicle.
Okay, I'm getting the registration. Why are you in my face? I don't understand this. You wanna follow me? He wants the registration. I wanna get it for him.
I want you to keep waiting right here in your driver's seat.
He posed thoughtful questions to the officers, seeking to understand the basis of their accusations. With an air of confidence, he challenged their assumptions, asserting that he was innocent of the alleged traffic violations. The professor accused the officer of hiding behind his badge and gun, insinuating that the situation would have unfolded differently without these symbols of power.
Without that badge and gun, we both know what would happen. You're the beta male. I'm the alpha male. And you know that. And you're scared. And you know you are. That's why you have your hand on your gun. Because you're scared. Look.
He suggested that the officer was scared, using his authority and firearm as shields. At the end of the interaction, when the professor asked for the officer's business card, he was ignored. The officer left without providing the card, bringing the intense encounter to a close.
Which, by the way, I need your business card, officer. I need his business card. Can I get
This incident with Chile de Castro, a community law professor, exemplified the delicate balance between law enforcement and those who possess a deep understanding of the legal system. As Chile de Castro resumed his journey, he carried with him the experience of this encounter. The law professor's epic showdown with the dumb cops was a mind-blowing clash of titans. When will these cops start acting a little sensible? Was what these law professionals did correct, or was it just an exaggeration of the whole incident? What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments.